today we are going to be talking about one of the biggest book sins that I'm going to try and convince you of doing today. Writing in your books! Stop it! Stop writing in your books, Naya. No, I shall never stop writing in my books, and I hope one day that you will come to the dark side and write in your books too. I also like to call this side the pink side because we're very happy here when we write in our books, okay? Today I'm going to be talking about annotating your books. Now, one of the biggest questions I get is how I annotate my books, why I annotate my books, and just like my process of me hurting my book by writing in it and highlighting in it and dog-earing it and, you know, doing other bookish sins. But in all seriousness, I am an avid book annotator. I have been annotating my books for the longest time, and I hope by the end of this video, I not only want to share with you how I annotate my books, but also I'm hoping to convince you to start annotating in your books too. Before you click out of this video and are like, no, I cannot subject myself to this kind of sin, just bear with me and just give me like 5 minutes or 10 minutes of your time. So the first thing that I want all of you to do before watching this video, okay, or actually you can do this after watching this video. In 8th grade is when I kind of stopped writing in my books for a short period of time, because that's when I first stumbled upon like BookTube, and then I saw how people were just taking care of their books so well, and I was like, I can't write in my books anymore, it's just a bad thing. My teacher, okay, my English teacher in 9th grade, like, I love her to death, Miss Julia. She like convinced me to start writing in my books again, and I thank her every day for her sending me this essay right here. So there's this essay, I'm gonna link it down below because it's available online, but it's called How to Mark a Book by Mortimer J. Adder. Now, this essay, so I had a conversation with my 9th grade teacher, and I was telling her, she knew how much like I loved books, and I was telling her about all my favorite books, and she asked me if I ever went in and highlighted like my favorite lines and like my favorite quotes of the book, and I'm like, oh no, I would never do that, I can't do that, that's bad, you're not supposed to write in your books. And she looked at, I was on the phone with her, and she's like, oh, what do you mean that's bad? Like, you have to write in your books. And I was like, no, I can't write in my books anymore, it's not good. And she's like, you know what, Naya, I'm gonna send you this essay, I want you to read it, okay? And so she sent me this essay here, and you guys, since then, I have been writing in my books, like since 9th grade, like every book has some little scribble or something in it, okay? Let me just read you this one part of this essay, okay? I'm gonna link it down below, you have to read it. It basically goes into detail, it's a really funny essay too, about why you should write in your books and how it's just like inhumane to not write in your books. There are 3 kinds of book owners. The first has all the standard sets and bestsellers, unread, untouched. This deluded individual owns wood pulp and ink, not books. The second has a great many books, a few of them read through, most of them dipped into, but all of them as clean and shiny as the day they were bought. This person would probably like to make books his own, but is restrained by a false respect for their physical appearance. The third has a few or many books, every one of them dog-eared and dilapidated, shaken, loosened by continual use, marked and scribbled in from front to back. This man owns books. I love that quote so much. I'm not going to read this whole essay because I mean this essay is old enough to where I don't think I'll be copyrighted for it, but you just have to just read this essay, okay? It's like 3 pages. I have it printed, like I have multiple printed copies of this essay because I love it so much, and I've given it to friends who have sworn against, you know, writing in their books, and now they write in their books because of this essay. Now let's get into my annotating habits. So I'm going to be using my beautiful, beautiful beloved copy of A Court of Mist and Fury as an example, because this is like probably my most annotated book on my shelf. Actually, this book along with The Alchemist are probably like the 2 most annotated books that I have. So let's just first talk about what kind of books I annotate. So I don't annotate every single one of my books. Usually the books that I annotate are the ones that like sit with me the most. So, you know, The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, Shatter Me by, oh my god, I was about to say the wrong author, Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi, Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. All these books are books that I absolutely love, and books that just, I feel like have really hit me, and that I almost, when I'm reading it, feel like I'm there with the character. Also, books that I love so much to where I reread them a second time. The first time I read A Court of Mist and Fury, I read it so quick, and I actually read it in Kindle form, so I didn't own the physical book yet, but I read it so quick that I couldn't annotate it. Now, the second time around reading it, I did annotate it, and I think that's another thing too. It's usually, first time around when I read a book, if I really love it, I will read it like super quick and I won't want to stop to annotate, but those books I tend to go back and reread, and the second time around I usually go and annotate it. I do 3 types of annotating. So the first type of annotating I do is sticky notes with highlights. When are you reading a book? Everyone knows those moments, right? When you just like, your heart stops and you're just like, like you let out a little squeal. Yeah, those moments are the ones that I highlight in the books. Now, I use multiple different colors. I'm not someone who has a color for a specific thing. For example, I'm just gonna flip open this book. I'm gonna like, okay, I'm gonna see which tab sticks out to me the most. Okay, so for example, so I'm just gonna flip, I just flipped to a random page here, and I just like, this whole thing is just thoroughly annotated. This is one of my favorite quotes ever in the world, ever, okay? As you can see, I highlighted this whole section. I wrote on the side, I'm not gonna read what I wrote only because I don't want to spoil anyone who hasn't read this book yet. But so those are the kind of quotes that I highlight, the quotes that are just like a punch, the ones that are just like, oh yes. Now this leads me into my second type of annotating that I do, and that is writing in my book. Now usually I write on the sides of the book in the margins. For me, I will write almost like a conversation with the character. So for example, if a character does something like super badass in the book, I will write, yes girl, you go, that is awesome. I'll write something almost as if I'm talking to the character, if that makes sense. It might sound really weird, but I love doing this because then when I go back and reread the book again, I can kind of see what my thoughts were and how I felt towards the character when I read it that time that I did. Actually, what I do is for books that I reread multiple times, I like to use a different pen color for every time that I go back in and reread it and re-annotate it. That way, say at the end of like 3 years when I've reread a book, say like 6 times, I'll have multiple different pen colors, but usually in the beginning I'll go and like squiggle a little like dot or something. That way I know what color coordinates with what date that I read the book. So I can see what my thoughts have been like, you know, months at a time, and see how my thoughts on certain situations in a book has changed. And it's really cool because it's almost like a diary, and it's really interesting to see, I don't know, your thoughts, you know, like past Naya's thoughts about a book. Sorry, I feel like I'm gonna burp. And the last way that I annotate my books is by dog earing, and I know this sounds so bad. I dog ear my page. I don't use bookmarks. Like, I have a whole bunch of bookmarks. Like, I literally have like 40 something bookmarks, but I hardly ever use them. It's so bad. I don't feel bad. Like, I feel bad because I know some of you guys are probably judging me right now and are like, gosh, Naya doesn't use a bookmark. Oh, there's certain scenes in a book that are that just hit you. Like, we all have our favorite scenes in books, right? So for me, during my favorite scenes of books, I will go and dog ear the bottom of the page. I like to just know what scenes that I like the best, I guess you could say, when I go back and reread it again. This book though, I did not dog ear any of the bottom, only because this whole book, like, if I could physically dog ear this whole book, I would, because this whole book is just filled with impactful scenes. Alright guys, those are the 3 ways that I annotate my book. I really hope you guys consider annotating your book, because honestly it's so nice to be able to like go and flip through and see your thoughts. And just remember guys that this is just paper, you know, it's just glue and paper, and the value is within the words and not the physical item itself. So don't feel bad for annotating. Alright, until next time, keep reading, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!